Hi guys, today we're going to take a look at Tableview and we're going to do some basic setup with it and also create a table view to populate some information so that way you guys will be able to start a new app with a new concept here. So why don't you guys go ahead and create a new project within Xcode and go ahead and call it to-do list. Okay, go ahead and call that, just create a single view application as always, and then we'll come to our main storyboard here and we'll get to work. Okay, so go ahead and once you get that going, we'll begin here. So the first thing we're going to do is we want to work with the table view. So table view is a very common element on apps that basically just lists information in a table. All right, so up until this point we've been using text fields, buttons, and really working on this storyboard, just kind of a very open storyboard. So now we're going to use a table view to organize our information here. Okay, so what we're going to do to begin here, all right, is we're going to add a table view to our existing view controller. Okay, but before we do that, let's go ahead and let's put this view controller in a navigation controller. So let's go to editor, let's go to embed in and choose navigation controller. Okay, so let's just add that in there. Okay, I just like to have that nice little navigation bar on the top here. So now let's go ahead to our object library and do a sort here and find our table view controller options. All right, so we've got a few things that pop up here. So we've got table view controller. So we're actually not going to use that right now. It's something that we could use for what we're going to accomplish, but for today, we're going to focus on adding this table view to our view controller. So all I need to do is I'm going to take my table view, drag it out here, and then I'm going to size this up here. So you notice as I drag my view controller to the my view controller, you'll notice that there's a little, some blue lines here. So I want to get to the point where I've got this look here with the blue lines intersecting, making a plus sign. So go ahead and let that go. And we've now added a table view to our view controller. Okay, so pretty simple process there. All right, so now with the table view on here, we're now able to format this, and again we're gonna just keep building on this. So the first things that we've done there is view controller, single view controller there, and added a table view. And then I'm just loading this up right now here. I just want to give you a quick peek of what a table view looks like in our simulator. So we'll come back to that in a moment. But so that's all there is to it right now. So not much going on with the app, not really functioning and doing anything here, but that's the beginning thing. So the next thing we need to do is we got to create some outlets for our table view. So there's 3 outlets that we need to do there. So we've got to create an outlet for delegate, data source, and then a table view outlet here. Okay, so to begin here, all right, so if we go ahead and if we choose our table view, okay, so again, I know it's selected. I've got the little white boxes around here, okay. I can do this a couple ways here, so I'm just going to show you one method. So if I control, oh, hang on, I'm in freezing right now. There we go. Okay. Oh, so there comes my to-do list here. All right, so we'll just show you this real quick and come back and we'll get our outlets established. Okay, maybe we'll come back. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to control drag from the table view to this yellow view controller icon. I'm going to let go. I'm going to choose the first option, data source. We'll talk about what those mean in a second. Then I want to do the same thing. I want to make sure I got the table view selected, and I know it's selected when it has the little white boxes around there, and control drag and choose it again and choose delegate. Okay, so now you'll see over here I've got my outlets established, data source and delegate. So those are the first 2. Then the next thing I need to do is hook my table view up to an IB outlet. All right, so I'm going to go to my assistant editor so I can see my view controllers.swift file. And once it thinks about letting me do this or not here, we'll go ahead and do that. And again, we've been doing this since day one. So I'm going to control drag from the table view. I'm going to let go. Again, above my view to load, make sure you can check it says UI table view in the type. We're just going to go ahead and call this table view. Okay, then I'm going to connect it, and I've got my outlet established. All right, again, I'm going to get rid of the did receive memory warning function because we're not going to need that. All right, so those are the first 3 things we're going to need. Let me just check on that. Oh, there you go. All right, so here's your table view controller to start. So nothing's fancy at the moment, just a pretty bland table view. So let's go ahead and quit that. Okay, we'll come back here. Okay, so there you go. Okay, so we've hooked up our table view, we've hooked up our delegate, we've hooked up our data source. So we got to make sure we do that. Okay, so now we need to do some code here, and we need to add our delegate and data source to the view controller. All right, so to do that, we're going to go to our class declaration line. So we've got a view controller that's a subclass of UI view controller, but we also want the view controller to be the delegate and the manager of the data for our table view. So we're going to type in UI table view. Let this autocomplete here. Not going to do it for me. There we go. And then we'll go UI table view data source. Okay, so basically what we're going to get some error messages here. We'll fix that. What we're saying here is the view controller is now the delegate and manages the data of our table view right here. So that's, we've now given the view controller, it's going to pull from the delegate and from the data source here. Okay, so now what we're going to do here is let's go into our view did load. So now again, like just to repeat what I said there, the view controller is the delegate and manager and the manager of the data for this table view. Okay, so we need to set our table view and set that up accordingly. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to say table view dot delegate is equal to self. Oh, okay, so again, that's saying this table view, the delegate property of table view is this view controller. So self is the view controller, as it says right there. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing for our data source. Table view dot data source is equal to self. So again, the data source of this table view is the view controller. Self means view controller. So we're saying that this is, you know, the view controller is now managing the delegate and the data of this table view. Okay, so now we've got these errors going on right now because we have to conform to the protocol. All right, so we're using these protocol methods, table view, delegate, and data source. We have to conform to those two things there. Okay, so there's two methods we need to add. Okay, so what we're going to do is we need to add a function for number of rows and then a function for self or row at index path. So let's add one at a time. So we're going to type in table view. We're going to get all these methods here, all these protocols that are these methods we can use here. So we're going to scroll. We're going to look for the one that says number of rows in section. All right, so that's the first one we're going to choose. Okay, so now, you know, we've got some more errors coming up here. Okay, because, you know, the issue here is we're returning an int with this function, but we don't have any return values going. So basically this one is asking us how many rows are going to be in your table view. Okay, so we have to set a return value. So we're going to go return, and then we'll just call it 2. So basically we're going to say we're going to return 2 rows. Okay, so that'll get rid of, let's hang on a second here. Okay, yes, we'll fix these mistakes in a moment here. All right, so now let's go to our next one here. Okay, and we're going to go to, we're going to type in table view. We're going to choose self or row at index path. Right there. Okay, so this one's going to basically say, what do you want to have show up here? Okay, there we go. Now we're getting rid of all the errors. So basically we're just saying, okay, so this one says how many rows are in the table view. This method says, what do you want those rows to look like? You know, how do you want them to look? So once again, we got to return a table view cell. So we have a return type listed. So that means we, you know, that's why we're getting the error, because this function is currently not returning anything here. Okay, so before we do anything, let's go back to our main storyboard. Okay, now we need to add, you know, the ability to add content here. So we've got a table view, all right, but we need to add a table view cell. So we can just go ahead and click and drag and drop that on our storyboard. So we've got what we call a prototype cell. So this is what we're going to basically use over and over so to add content here. So with our cell selected, we're going to go to our attributes inspector. We're going to set the identifier. So basically this is the way to tell our code what, you know, we're going to connect code to our storyboard. So let's just set the identifier to cell. Okay, so that'll get rid of that little warning there. Okay, so now we're going to use that in our code here. Okay, so we need to return a table view cell here. All right, so we need to say, what do we want to show up here? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a variable called var cell. Okay, it's going to equal table view. All right, and the table view is up here. It's from this outlet right here. All right, dot, and we're going to access this DQ reusable cell with identifier. So basically, how this works is, you know, Swift is going to use the same cell over and over again. Okay, and just populate it with new data once we get that code in there. So for right now, we're just going to use this top one here, DQ reusable cell with identifier. So the identifier is what we set in our storyboard to cell. So it's going to reuse this cell over and over here, and it's going to populate data. Okay, so we're not out of the woods yet. Okay, so the next thing we need to do here is we're just going to go ahead and return our cell. Well, and then that's our return part of this thing. And actually, before we go here, we got to do one last step here. We got to cast this table view cell as a get UI table view cell here. So we're basically saying var cell is a table view cell. So now I can return it and it matches up. So what we did here is I said var cell is equal to the table view. We use it with that cell that we put out there. We set it equal to cell. So out of my storyboard, this, let me click off here. We set the identifier equal to cell. In my view controller, we came in and said, okay, we're going to create this variable cell, and then that is where by using the string cell, that's what we're setting it equal to. We're saying it's a table view cell. We can now return that as a cell because we're now satisfying the return function or the return characteristic or condition of this function. Okay, so now what we can do here, okay, is we can let's just set a value here. So with this cell, I can go cell dot text label dot text. All right, so this is setting the text of each cell, and we'll just say this is my cell. Okay, so now what's happening here? This is my cell is going to show up in the text label of it, and it's going to show up 2 times because we said there's 2 rows in our section. So let's run this so we can take a look at how that is. All right, so again, just doing some basic setup right now. Okay, so we'll let this build and run because it'll be there. I think it'll be a good thing for you to be able to see what this looks like. All right, so here comes our table view to-do list. All right, so again, as this is loading up here, let's just go through a review of what we've done to this point here. All right, so we started our app by just creating a blank, just single view application project. We added a table view to our storyboard, to our view controller here on storyboard. We hooked that table view up to 3 outlets. Okay, so let's just click on it. Our data source and our delegate, then the table view in our view controller. Okay, so you have to do those 3 things there. In our view controller, we said, you know what, view controller, we want you to have the access to the table view delegate and the data source. Okay, so we'll come back out there. So again, basically we're saying the view controller is going to be the delegate and manage the data of anything we put into the table. So in view did load, we just want to establish that table view.delegate is equal to view controller, table view.data source is equal to view controller. So self is the view controller in this case. Once we put our protocol methods here, okay, we need to add 2 functions, number of rows in section and self a row at index path. All right, we will need those. Right now, we're just going to return 2 rows, okay, and those 2 rows are going to consist of what we put in this code down here. All right, so what we did here was we created a variable called cell, and we set it equal to the prototype cell we added to the storyboard, which is this, okay? And again, that's why we set it equal to cell, because we need to be able to get this prototype cell into our code, and that's what's happening right here. So table view, again, is our outlet up top here, .dq, then just let the code autocomplete here, and then this is a string we created. Then we want to cast and say this is a table view cell. From there, we can control, we can say cell text label is equal to this is my cell, because then that's going to change the appearance of what goes in each row of our table. When we return the cell, that will now tell this function here what to go in there. All right, so let's take a look at our simulator. All right, so here you can see, so we've got 2 rows. This is my cell. All right, so that is the output of everything we did here. All right, so this is just our basic setup of a table view. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is use an array to just be able to add some different information, because obviously this doesn't serving much of a purpose here to have 2 cells or just 2 2 rows here with the same information. But again, the basic setup is very important. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the video at this point. Rather than just do one monster video, we'll just do different, kind of shorter ones, so you can use each one as a progression here, step 1, step 2, and so on. So thanks a lot here for following along. Questions, let me know in class here, but that's where we're going to stop at this point. Thanks for watching, and